And away we go. It's just me at the moment. Not sure if Eric or Risk are going to join, but if not, well, it must go on. And it should go on too. Let's see what's in the news today. Because who knows, it's not looking good. Western Canada Marine Response Corporation exercised off Vancouver Island last month. The Kate Sentinel is on its way to join other vessels from Sydney, as well as from Beecher Bay west of Victoria and Nanaimo, for a day-long exercise to contain an imaginary oil spill. The practice is all the more important as more ships leave Vancouver's Burrard Inlet after the expansion of the Trans Mountain oil pipeline, and talk about Alberta Premier Danielle Smith about pushing for a pipeline across British Columbia's north, a practice for an imaginary oil spill. Surely that will come very handy in case the United States gets involved. In fact, what if Canada is wanting to take over the United States' place as being the country after oil? I'm just saying, I think it'd be kind of funny. Who knows? One can hope that there's some kind of change in this world. I think it comes to a point people are sick and tired of hearing about one country in particular being the center of attention of pretty much anything, really, and the rest is history, as the predictors put it, because they're the ones that's writing it and spreading it all across the globe, saying, we're the good guys. No, they're not. They're the ones that started the mess in the first place. Reece Walsh inspires Brisbane Broncos to NRL Premiership glory over Melbourne Storm. On Sunday, the Brisbane Broncos defeated the Melbourne Storm 26-22 at the Core Stadium, with Reece Walsh starring and claiming the Cleve Churchill Medal. Trailing 22-12 at half-time, Brisbane Broncos twice erased 10-point deficits despite injuries to Adam Reynolds, hamstring, and Ben Hunt, concussion. After the break, Shibaski's quick shifted momentum and Walsh threw the final pass in 3 tries while stopping a storm break with less than 30 seconds remaining. The victory ends a 19-year men's premiership drought and redeems the 2023 Grand Final decider. It is Brisbane Broncos' 7th premiership and first with Michael Maguire as coach. Reece Walsh continued to joke about his earlier toilet video amid celebrations, while the Brisbane club statement clarified the new toilet remained unused, and Melbourne Storm lost consecutive grand finals for the first time since 2004. Wow, that's quite a pack-in an adventure. What a game that was, especially if people don't know much about Australian football. I sure don't. However, it sounds like a lot went on in that final. So, congrats to the winning team. Hooray, and let's see if this continues. Probably not. However, anything's possible. Like anything. No matter the odds, anything is possible at this point. AI is not yet replacing workers in the United States, Yale study finds. Through July, Yale University's Budget Lab and the Brookings Institution found no evidence of broad US job disruption since ChatGPT's release, stating overall our metrics indicate, said Martha Gimbel. Several firms citing AI and layoffs prompting closer scrutiny, as tech executives warned of upheaval that contrasted with later data and spurred Yale Budget's lab study. About 18% of workers hold jobs in the highest AI exposure category. stable since January 2023, with financial services, information sector, and professional and business services most exposed. The study finds augmenting human work with productivity gains, but researchers warn administrative support and customer service roles face risks without upskilling by executives and policymakers. The Yale research team calls for comprehensive usage data from major AI companies, noting it's too early to predict long-term impacts and citing conflicting studies, including recent graduate employment declines. Just like I've been saying for many months, whilst we should be worried about the potential of artificial intelligence as of now and maybe in the next year or two, we shouldn't be too worried about AI taking out jobs. It takes a lot of advancements, physical hardware, and knowledgeable capabilities to even have the chance of a job to be overtaken by artificial intelligence. Maybe, possibly, in the next decade or two, we would start to see some signs, not a lot, but some signs in the next decade or two. Right now, as of this recording, we'll be all right. We should be skeptical and we should be questioning about AI's capabilities. However, most jobs that stand today are all right. And even though I've heard recently that there is an AI actress that's booking acting gigs or opportunities, a lot of people in the entertainment industry are not liking it whatsoever. Fair enough, I actually agree with them. AI cannot replace actual human actors and actresses. No matter how good AI will be, it will never be as good or reach at a high perfect standard as with human recorded entertainment and movies, television. And I think even if there was a point that artificial intelligence becomes so dang advanced, and majority of what we see is just primarily generated by artificial intelligence, the very few content that was not even touched by a single speck of technology, all humans, all manual labor worked on, that will be the most valuable. And people would pay a lot of money to see such content in a vast sea of artificial intelligence. But that won't be for another few decades. It'll be a while until we get to that point. For now, enjoy the moment, while it still lasts. Because it won't. It certainly won't. TikTok gets its Indonesian operating license back after giving government data from protests. On October 4th, Indonesia's Ministry of Communication and Digital Affairs ended TikTok's license suspension after the platform supplied requested data that same day, Alexander Sebe said. Because TikTok did not fully comply, the suspension followed its refusal to provide complete user data during protests during August 25th, August 30th, with a September 23rd letter citing internal policy limits. Data requests targeted TikTok live traffic escalation and monetization activity, August 25th to 30th. The ministry said it needed the data to trace accounts tied to online gambling, Alexander Saber said. The move allows continued operations amid enforcement actions, preserving access for more than 100 million users in Indonesia. While Indonesia's antitrust agency fined TikTok a $900,000 fine on Monday. The episode has raised free speech concerns after TikTok briefly suspended its live feature on August 30th amid protests triggered by a delivery driver's death under President Prabowo Subianto's administration. Oh boy. Well, it looks like you had a lot to say, Alexander Saber. A company gets its license back. There's always This is a genuine concern about free speech. Of course, people aren't going to agree, but to limit the access of the speech and to limit access of people recording what goes on in the world tells me that the government in question is trying to hide the fact that there there are issues in that country. No, there's no problem, they say. It's all good, nothing to see here. But then the people in that country are trying to say otherwise. However, the government is limiting the access to promote such content or live stream the events that goes on in said country, which goes against what whoever's in power is saying that whatever goes on in the country, it's not that big of a deal, or there's no problem at all. Oh, there is certainly a problem. How is the people in power going to defend themselves and justify whatever actions that they have done? And this goes for any government. If there are issues, what is the issue? How are they going to tackle the issue? Do they plan on tackling the issue? We do not question high authority enough. We don't question the media, we don't question our governments, and we certainly do not question why things are not allowed to be promoted. Of course, there will be justified and understandable and valid reasons why such content can't be promoted for the sake of health and safety. But if people are just going to say that just because, just for the sake of solely health and safety, you got to specify on that. It's not enough to say health and safety just because it's for the better good. There has to be further specification beyond the general reason. So back to the story, the TikTok Indonesian operating license granted back, government data from protests. This tells me that the Indonesian government are worried that people would be mad about the ever-growing issues that's going on in the country. And if more people found out about it, they have to do something. Or even the president himself will have to step down. And then an election will be triggered to elect a new president to clean up whatever mess that was left from the previous administration. It's a lot to take in. It certainly is. I hope people in Indonesia get the justice they deserve, and all of whatever issues that are going on in the country, hopefully it is certainly resolved. It's very, very unfortunate. Swifties flock to movie theaters for Taylor Swift, the official release party of a showgirl. Over the weekend, the Smashing Machine opened to $6 million from 3,634 venues, a distant third place debut and Johnson's lowest ever statement 2766. Moving on from action roles, Johnson signed up a dramatic work and promoted The Smashing Machine as an award-style project, while Taylor Swift's limited event topped the box office with about $33 million. Comparative reception data indicates The Smashing Machine earned a B- cinema score with 73% on Rotten Tomatoes, while the official release, Party of a Showgirl, scored an A+ cinema score and nearly 90% on the popcorn meter. The box office shortfall raises questions about award chances and festival Lido's standing ovation, praise for the Smashing Machine cast, doubt on its prospects amid A24's uneven year, with Materialists as the lone bright spot at $300 million. Swift's unconventional listening party pulled screens and audiences, with females making up nearly 90% of opening day audiences on October 3rd, and estimates saying it took premium large format screens across the United States. This shows that Taylor Swift is an absolute powerhouse. Of course, people don't like her music, but that does not make her any less relevant than she is right now, because the fan base that she has grown over the years is incredible. It's absolutely wild. And I have heard on social media that there are a handful of Swifties that do not like the release of Party of a Showgirl, but she's still going to do wonders and break records anyway. The question of how she's going to continue breaking records is beyond our own comprehension. No matter how much hate, no matter how much hate Taylor Swift gets, even if it's from her own fans to some extent, this is still going to do well compared to other theatrical releases, which will still do great figures and numbers, but will not come close to Taylor Swift's official release of Party of the Showgirl. That I will say for sure. Nothing will come close to it. And if it does, it won't be for another 2 decades. At the earliest. I'm calling it now. In the next 2 decades at the earliest is when Taylor Swift's official release of Party of the Showgirl would likely be overtaken by the next big major theatrical release. Movies are still going to be released in theaters. They'll just put it on live stream. They'll just put it in. So yeah, nothing is stopping Taylor Swift. She's gonna do well. I'm not glazing her in not even the slightest. There's no way of denying Taylor Swift's dominance in pop culture. There's just no denying it. You don't have to like her. You can provide reasons why the negative impacts, but that's not going to stop the impact that she's having. I will say that. She will continue to grow. Somehow. Robbie Williams, forced to cancel world tour gig in interest of public safety. The former Take That singer said it was his dream to perform at the Koi Arena on Tuesday, but the decision by city authorities to cancel the show was beyond our control. Williams' Britpop World Tour began in May and has taken him to cities including London, Amsterdam, Berlin, Helsinki, and Athens. The 51-year-old Angels singer said in a post on Instagram to his 3.7 million followers, "The last thing I would ever want to do is to jeopardize the safety of my fans. Their safety and security come first. We were very excited to be playing Istanbul for the first time and purposely chose the city as the final show of the Britpop tour. To end this epic run of dates in front of my Turkish fans was my dream. Given the close connections my family have with this wonderful country. To everyone in Istanbul who wanted to join the 1.2 million people who have shared this phenomenal tour this year with us, I am deeply sorry. We were so looking forward to this show, but the decision to cancel it was beyond our control." Williams is still expected to perform a small ticketed gig on Thursday at Camden's Dingwalls venue in London. He will run through his upcoming album Britpop, which is yet to be released in full, with his first solo LP, Life Through a Lens. After leaving Take That in 1995, Williams released his chart-topping debut album in 1997 and has achieved 7 UK number one singles and 15 UK number one albums. Wow, that is very sad. Very unfortunate. But that just comes to show that Robbie Williams, even after leaving Take That, which is also a big boy band at the time it was at its peak, he has millions of fans that really want to see him. But of course, because of how many people are going to be there, it's just not safely possible. Hello, Eric.
Sorry,
Going
man.
great.
It was a mixture. It was a mixture of like me having to like make a video for a job I took, and also just my dog and that. But yeah, what are we talking about?
Robbie Williams had to cancel his final world tour date at Istanbul for the sake of public safety.
Wow. Like, what when you say his final world tour, is that just the name of the world tour, or is this literally his final world tour?
Well, he never said what world tour he said would be throughout his lifetime. He was on a world tour around the world, and he was ending his final show of his current world tour at Istanbul. However, that date for Istanbul had to be cancelled because of public safety.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Anyway, yeah, it's like public safety and public safety. Is this specifically like related to like the whole is it related to like Charlie Kirk in any way, like or in general? Wanted to like kind of protect himself from like whatever happened in the public in general.
there was nothing specific about what was in the interest of public safety. It
Huh.
was a decision made by Robbie Williams to cancel that gig in Istanbul because of public safety. There wasn't any mention of what that public safety was.
I don't know, but I'll be honest. It's just interesting that he said public safety. I thought for certain it was just related to the whole Charlie Kirk thing. I don't know. I thought it was just that in general. I don't really know much about the guy, but like yeah. Hey, it's public safety, public safety. Maybe he'll start it up once again once he feels like once it's safe and feels that repercussions are taken for safety. But for now, guess there's no world tour. For the fans out there. But yeah, um, is there anything else in it?
Manchester synagogue terrorist made me watch ISIS videos and planned to join Islamist group, ex-partner claims.
Oh wow, that is very specific. Let's hear more on the story.
On October 4th, the woman told the Manchester Evening News she recognized her former partner, Jihad al-Shami, as the attacker in Thursday's Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue assault that killed 2 men and injured 4. After meeting on Muzmatch, the woman said she was an 18-year-old college student groomed into a controlling 4-month on-off relationship with Jihad al-Shami, later leaving the country fearing reprisals on her family in Greater Manchester. Al-Shami forced her to watch extremist material, pressured her to cover herself and marry, hit and stalk her, and messaged young girls on Muzmatch using fake accounts like Valentino and Ahmed. Greater Manchester Police have arrested 4 individuals in custody, including a 30-year-old man and a 61-year-old woman, with warrants allowing detention for up to 5 days as investigations continue. Since Thursday, Faraj al-Shami said the news from Manchester regarding the terrorist attack targeting a Jewish synagogue has been a profound shock to us, and reports indicate the 35-year-old was on bail after a recent rape arrest.
I don't think how that's a shock. I mean, in the Quran, it seems like kill the Christians and the Jews who go against it. If I'm important whether or not, I know it says something along the lines of that in their Quran, so I'm not necessarily that surprised. It's very unfortunate with the events that led up to this, but I'm not really that surprised. I know obviously there are peaceful people that practice the faith, and my question is why are they? Because like yeah, it's like I know that all of them aren't violent. I know there's some that are peaceful. There's some that are great. I think every space has their own version of extremism. Except like the only difference is like with certain states that's not permitted, but like with other states that's actually like the mark that you are of that actual thing. You know, you gotta like look at the fruits that it produces. You gotta look at the fruits that it produces and like wonder if this is true. Like, killing people, like pressuring like your girl into like marrying you and covering up. Which I think the covering. I think like every girl can cover up. Not like that though. It's like I mean just you know so in general. Like you don't have to wear the whole thing. I'm just saying like I think like every woman can cover up, but at the same time, free will. You know, people are gonna do what they people are gonna do what they do, and I don't have to agree with it. But at the end of the day, um, have to respect their choices. Whether it's right or wrong, it's just their choice. But yeah, I would say yeah, I'm not necessarily that surprised that even on the internet too, it's like, they find a reason to like, injure people. Obviously, they're the good ones, and there's the bad people. You have to, at the same time, you have to like, see which ones are the good ones, which ones are the bad ones. I don't think you can kill them, though. I mean, even if you hate a group that much, there's no reason to kill them. And I'm just gonna say this: since your book is telling you to kill certain groups of people, and you're justifying that with your book, man, then like you probably reevaluate the book or reevaluate your faith in general if it's so But yeah, for the most part, I would yeah, it's just a very unfortunate situation. And that was her ex partner as well in that situation. Ah, wow. Not making it look good, not making yourself or your faith. But it's unfortunate though. Is there anything else in the news? Oh wow. Nine children. That is unfortunate. My prayers are with the families who lost their children to that. But yeah, let's hear more about this story.
Indian authorities are investigating if contaminated cough syrup caused the deaths of 9 children in Madhya Pradesh after a batch of the medication was found to contain dangerous levels of diethylene glycol (DEG), a toxic solvent. The Indian Health Ministry said that test samples of cold-drift cough syrup made by Srisen Pharma in Tamil Nadu contained DEG, which is highly toxic if ingested even in small amounts. The World Health Organization has previously linked cough syrups made by Indian companies to child deaths in the Gambia and Uzbekistan, and India provides 20% of the world's supply of generic medicines.
First off, why is cough medicine meant for children even contaminated to begin with? And 9 children, really? You could. It didn't take the one child to like kind of realize that the cough serum was contagious, was wrong. Man, India, you gotta get your stuff together. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, you really gotta get your stuff together because man, like, look, I'm gonna say there's a reason why people like dislike India and Indians. I'm not saying any of that stuff is true. I personally don't think it is. Half the stuff like being said about India is true. However, like there's a reason why people pick on India so much. It's stuff like this. There's a reason why people pick on in America pick on India so much. I don't know if the Indian hate is as strong as it was a couple months back, but yeah, there's a reason. Well, I'll be honest, people just pick on India because allegedly dirty and unsanitary. I would say like you shouldn't put that on like every Indian. Obviously, you should. I would say like you should see. There are people in the United States and like other countries who are dirty and but yeah, I would say like India, you gotta do better. Just do better. It's unfortunate, but yeah, like having it taste all of that to realize that your costume was killing kids. I don't know. It shouldn't have even. It shouldn't have gotten to one, but it shouldn't have gotten to one to begin with. But it's just unfortunate. Hopefully those kids are resting in peace. And yeah, my condolences are to their parents and to their parents. So yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Things on the Artemis 2 mission to the moon with Canada's Jeremy Hansen.
Okay, let's hear it.
NASA astronauts Victor Glover, Reed Wiseman, Christina Koch, and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen will travel around the moon in the Orion capsule Integrity on Artemis 2, the Canadian press reported October 4th, 2025. NASA designed the flight as a preparatory mission to test Artemis 2's spacecraft systems and use the crew to support future lunar landings and long-term space presence. Crew logistics include adapted meals and exercise, with the Orion capsule habitable volume of 330 cubic feet and a 10-day mission schedule featuring rehydratable food and a flywheel for training. Canadian officials say the mission has stirred palpable pride, and Matthew Corrin called it very, very condensed, while Jeremy Hansen would become the first non-American beyond lower Earth orbit. Artemis 4 will focus on assembling the Gateway Lunar Space Station, which will include the Canadian contribution Candarm-3.
I personally nowadays have a hard time believing that space is exist. But since they're reporting on the story, let's pretend I believe they exist. Wow, that is amazing. I hope they're safe. You know, I hope they get back. They're so brave. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even believe that we were even able to get out of this firmament that we're in. I don't know. I believe we can go as high as we can. I believe we can go as high as we can, but we definitely can't get out of Earth. I don't know. Since I know a good amount, since I know what I know, and also because of confession videos from the first man that landed on the moon, or because of his dementia, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that space even exists. And if it does exist, we've definitely never been in space. Alright? Anyway, yeah. And if it does exist, we've definitely never been in space. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But yeah, I don't know, maybe they'll go around the world in a helicopter. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. But either way, I hope they're safe doing it. Yeah, is there anything else in the news?
Hundreds of thousands protest in Amsterdam against Gaza war.
Okay, let's hear more about the Gaza war. Obviously, always in the news.
On Sunday in Amsterdam, a mass demonstration drew around 250,000 protesters, an estimate local police described as not crazy. Organisers said the Dutch government was not doing enough and demanded action just over 3 weeks before the October 29th election, in the third Red Line protest this year. Protesters of all ages marched a 6-kilometre (3.7-mile) route, packed Museumplein, and waited more than 2 hours to move along roads by the Vondelpark. Since the May rallies, the Dutch government has imposed travel bans on 2 far-right Israeli cabinet ministers and backed import restrictions on settlement-produced goods, while the Supreme Court ordered Foreign Minister David Van Viel to decide on fighter jets exports within 6 weeks. PAX Netherlands director Relane Sasse said, "We hope there will be a real ceasefire very, very soon, and people will be protected, while Israel rejects genocide claims and several Jewish groups joined the protest.
We always talk, it's always the same thing. They just gotta stop because, well, war is bad, war is bad. But I'm gonna say something else. We're talking about Gaza and Israel and whatnot. But there are people, most news outlets and most people refuse to talk about thousands of Nigerian Christians who are dying in their country because of Islam, because of extreme Islamic. Why isn't that in the news? The fact that I had to find that out from social media is not baffling, but it's baffling if it's not on the mainstream news. We talk about Gaza, and I'm going to say this about Gaza. I'm going to say this about everything about Gaza. It needs to end. It needs to end. Protesting does not do a thing most of the time. Some of the time it's effective, but I don't know. It hasn't been effective since the times of Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. It hasn't been effective since then. Probably somewhere in the early 2000s, maybe. I'm not sure. But at the same time, it's not really that effective. People talk about killing, people talk about morals, people talk about this and that. Yet no one is talking about the massive killings that are happening in Nigeria. Thousands of Christians dying just simply because of their faith, in Jesus Christ. And no one's talking about that. It's just Gaza, Israel. Hate Gaza, hate Israel.
And also Russia and Ukraine.
Russia, Ukraine. Yeah, that too. Those are in the news. Except those things are in the news because they're so much more important than innocent people dying because of their faith by extreme Islamists or Islamist extremists. But yeah, all of those things seem to be far more important than other people in another country dying because of something. But I'm not that surprised. But I'm not at all that surprised that they're not reporting on it because it's they're they're bought and sold. Although I don't believe you can actually sell your soul in real time. They're bought and sold by to people at the top and not talk about that. And instead, you got local news outlets that are not bought and sold that are just simply on social media that talk about it because it is definitely something that we should bring awareness to. It's just unfortunate. That no one talks about that type of stuff. Because ultimately speaking, it's it's not part of their agenda. It's not part of their plan. For people to see how for people to not see the persecution that's going on in different countries in different parts of the world. Yeah, but we can talk about Israel, Gaza, Ukraine, Russia all day long. But we're not going to talk about those dying Christians, those dying men and women and children in Nigeria, just simply because of their faith, and also the churches are bombed there too, and there are even attacks on churches in New York, dude. In the news, I'm pretty sure in the news, two teenage girls were shot and killed by someone in New York, and I think they were part of an Orthodox church as well. I'm like, dang, bro, it's they keep, everything about this is just increasing. Evil is increasing. At this point, yeah. It doesn't matter what political party you're part of. It's not politics versus politics. It's good versus evil at this point. You're either on the good side or the bad side. And most people love evil. Most people love their shit. Most people want to be on the bad side because it's fun. Most people don't want their. But this is what I say in regards to myself. I'd rather have them exposed than try to hide them because eventually, stuff is going to come out. There's certain things that are going to come out into the light. These things will get exposed, either way. These things will expose. these Beyonce things are being exposed. Yeah, it's unfortunate. We talk about all this other stuff, and I guess it holds more importance. Now, although it holds importance, still, a human life is also important as well. And if they cared about every human life, if they cared about anybody else besides the major players that we're talking about right now, they would talk about Nigeria as well. Killings that are going on there. Men and women, children, and churches being bombed there. So people still, so like them still remaining strong because they know the promise that is to come. You know. But yeah, it's definitely unfortunate, but it is what it is.
It was what it was.
And my prayers are with those people who are standing strong, in their faith. But yeah. Is there anything else over here?
Congo, Rwanda will not sign economic deal this week in setback for peace process.
All right, let's hear more.
On Friday, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda did not sign the Regional Economic Integration Framework after final Washington negotiations, delaying President Donald Trump's peace and investment efforts. Under the Washington mediated peace deal, Congo refused to sign until 90% of Rwandan troops withdrew from eastern Congo, a source said. Rwanda-backed M23 seized two major cities in January and February, while analysts and diplomats say Rwanda sent at least 7,000 soldiers, and REIF negotiating teams finalized the text, but Kinshasa declined to initial it. The US is trying to get talks back on track, but initialing was not expected on Friday, while Masad Bolus, Trump's senior advisor for Africa, had hoped heads of states would sign by October 23rd. Reuters reported last month that Rwanda and Congo would begin implementing security measures on October 1st, despite the 90-day timetable having lapsed.
What can I say
Who
about
else but
Mr.
Trump?
Donald Trump? Exactly. Who else but Trump? What can I say about Mr. DT? DJT. DJT.
The Orange Man.
Donald J. Trump. The Orange Man. The, as some Americans would call him, I don't call him this, but some Americans do, the savior of America. I'm sure there's some people who call him that. Like, I don't. But I'm sure, like most people, I'm pretty sure most Trumpers would. What can I say about him? Actually, I'll ask a question. John, so far, how would you rate, his presidential run? His first year back in office, or almost year back in office. How would you rate it from, a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, honestly, I actually have to be real here. I would give, at least so far in his second term, a 4 out of 10. It's not bad, but it's certainly not as good as his first term. That's for sure.
What would you rate his first term?
I'd rate his first term a 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's a fair, and that's a fair rating. But yeah, it's Trump does not seem to have, that fire, that passion that he had in his first term. It's he was already, American. And now he's, yeah. Well, to be fair, he was an old man before. Now he's just really an old man. He used to be an old man about it, but, yeah, Trump is not doing good, but he's not doing completely terrible. There are some things that he did right. There are some things that he did was questionable. And there are some things that he did which is flat out awful. To some people, I wouldn't call it awful, but I would just say bad, or not the best idea. To put it nice, because ultimately speaking, but, yeah. I don't know. I feel like even if J.D. Vance did run, he wouldn't do as good either. not simply because it would be his first year, but just I don't know. I just don't see JD Vance doing better than Trump, or as decent or as good as Trump. I don't know. I just don't see it. I do think people would just go with what he's saying simply because he's a Republican, and I really do think that all Republicans and Democrats do. If you're a Democrat or Republican, they say, yeah, that's my guy, or that's my girl. What do I know? After one goes the other. After the other goes the other. You know, things are never really truly going to be fixed in America. So there's no point in fronting, as the kids say, fronting about the evil that goes on in this world because it's expected. Don't lose hope though, because all of the stuff that's happening is just expected, both biblically and from a secular perspective. There's always going to be evil from on one side and good on the other side. And so far, the evil from a secular perspective is overseeing the good. Secular evil is overseeing secular good. So biblical goodness is on the rise. It's on the rise. More people are just waking up to that. But yeah, that's pretty much how I see it. Is there anything else we can do?
Bad Bunny marks backlash to his Super Bowl halftime gig on SNL.
Huh. Bad Bunny getting backlash? Let me guess. Was he being demonic again?
Well, we're about to find out. On October
Interesting.
2025, Bad Bunny, Puerto Rican musician, hosted NBC's season 51 premiere of Saturday Night Live and used his opening monologue to confront backlash over the Super Bowl 55 Apple Music halftime show, delivering an uplifting Spanish message and mocking conservative coverage. Earlier this week, Trump's MAGA supporters and conservative outlets criticized the halftime pick, while Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security Secretary, said ICE would be at Levi's Stadium to ensure safety. He punctuated the bit with a Spanish address to Latino fans and a joke about having 4 months to learn after splicing Fox News anchors into a praising edit. Rock Nation founder Jay-Z praised Bad Bunny's work for Puerto Rico and his 31-night Coliseo de Puerto Rico residency, while his 24-date Debí Tirar Más Fotos world tour and January album sustained his momentum. Saturday Night Live's October 11th and October 18th episode keep the show's and Bad Bunny's visibility high, just after his Super Bowl 55 halftime show announcement and upcoming Saturday Night Live appearances.
Demons praising demons. I'm not that shocked about it. AZ praising Bad Bunny? That's not shocking. That's not shocking at all. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know necessarily what the backlash was about, but going to, I'm gonna assume it was something demonic or just something degenerate. It was probably something degenerate. It always is with Bad Bunny. Now, I will say this: Bad Bunny is one talented wrestler, celebrity wrestler. So that's the only thing I'm gonna praise him for. I don't listen to the guy's music. I'm pretty sure he's a talented singer too. The only thing is that he completely sold out to the evil side. And he could have been using his songs to uplift people, to do good. Yeah, but Jay-Z praising Bad Bunny, not shocked at all. He's a demon. And I'm never gonna listen to Jay-Z. Some of his songs are just a mockery, flat out mockery of the God of the Bible, and they just also some of his things are just some of the way he raps is just degenerate in general. I'm not gonna comment on his look though, because that'd be weird. But I'm just commenting on his character and what he's done throughout the years, and for his unrepentant But yeah, it's like it's just I don't know. As for Bad Bunny and the backlash, okay, you know, it's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna do anything for his, it's not gonna do much for his career. It's not going to lower his stock. It's not necessarily gonna lower his stock. He's just responding to critics as any other celebrity would do. So yeah, Bad Bunny, that's the luck. Hence, he's demonic, and maybe I'd like you a little bit. Yeah. I don't hate him. I just hate the evil he promotes. But he's a great celebrity wrestler though. So that's all I'm giving. That's the only credit I'm giving. Great celebrity wrestler, talented. But yeah, is there anything else in the news?
There should be. Automaker Stellantis planning $10 billion in US investments, Bloomberg News reports.
All right, let's hear more about that.
French, Italian, American automaker Stellantis is planning to invest about $10 billion in the United States, with about $5 billion in fresh investments on top of a similar amount earned marked earlier this year. The investments over several years could be funneled into plants including reopenings, hirings, and new vehicle models in states such as Illinois and Michigan. Stellantis is focused on reclaiming the past success of the Jeep brand and is considering fresh investments in Dodge, which could result in a new Dodge V8 muscle car and possibly even the Chrysler brand in the long term.
I don't really have that strong of an opinion of this. How about you?
Break a leg, Stellantis. Hope that $10 billion was worth it.
uh, yeah, break a leg, I guess. Break a leg. It was worth it. Yeah, good luck in your future endeavors.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I think that is us.
All right.
Peace.